Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Delighted and honored to have back with us today Walid Shoebat. He's a former PLO member and Muslim Brotherhood activist, but he's written some books and they're very interested. And if you haven't picked them up, let me encourage you to grab a couple of them. For God or for Tyranny, and God's War on Terror, and Why We Want to Kill You, and Why I Left Jihad are just a couple of the titles you may want to check out. By the way, his website is Shoebat, that's SHOEBAT.com, if you want to communicate with him today. And we have him on Skype. Wally, nice to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know, you must really be watching what's happening in the news like the rest of us with incredible emotions as to what's happening. And of course, yesterday, the beheading of another American journalist. It just doesn't seem like this administration gets it.
Well, the problem with the administration is it's liberal. The problem with the beheading as well is that Stolov was also liberal. You know, unfortunately, he had thought that he can go to Syria, go to Egypt. In fact, in my blog, I talk about some of his writings in which he went to Egypt, and his buddy Ahmed told him, watch out, those Muslim fundamentalists will hack you. They have access. And he says, I didn't listen to Ahmed. I found the Muslim Brotherhood to be absolutely the opposite of what my friend told me. This is not true. This is false media. This is false information. You know, I show some of this writing. And so there is this naivete in the media and in the government that wants to pussyfoot with Islamic fundamentalists. And they think that they can go in and have a true peace dialogue with the situation. And what happened with Stolov and what happened with Foley as well, you know, it was the ultimate disaster. And so I warn Americans out there, don't mess around with Muslim fundamentalists. They could kill you. It is a fact. This is not a fish. It's a cobra.
Wow. You know, they changed their names. Of course, now we're dealing with ISIS, but they changed their name, I guess, to create some kind of new interest or whatever that is. But how big is this threat to us in America now, Walid, from your perspective?
It's a major threat because it is much bigger than Al-Qaeda. It is much more sophisticated than Al-Qaeda. ISIS is designing to use plagues. I know they talk about the bubonic plague. A Tunisian was caught with his computer. In fact, last night I was reviewing the fatwa that was given to groups like ISIS. It is a very intricate fatwa that talks about the permission in Islam to kill Americans in mass, strictly Americans, regardless to how many Muslims could be killed, even that there's Muslims living amongst Americans, that is justifiable. They talk about, let's say, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, which is the first Khalifa in Islam, who says, do not cut a tree, do not harm. You know, it was more of a positive thing during jihad. But then they go on and say, well, Ash-Shafi'i says you can cut trees, you can destroy infrastructure. They talk about Maliki, they talk about all the different four major sects of Sunni Islam that they approved mass killing. And they gave so many examples from the scholarlies of the past in Islam. So Americans don't understand when they hear one side of the story from a Muslim apologist that would say, look what Islam teaches. They don't understand the underlayings of other teachers in Islam that use so many events in history to justify the mass murder and the mass killing. ISIS is interested in a grand finale. Al-Qaeda, of course, was interested in a grand finale in 9/11. Now ISIS is interested in a different kind of grand finale, and that is to use weapons of mass destruction. In fact, on YouTube, the array, hundreds of YouTube training videos are allowed by YouTube. I sent an APB to YouTube, to the world, to the FBI, to show the intricate, detailed techniques of how Islamists can create RDX, the sophisticated explosives, rocket launching, how you can use from cow manure and how from beginning to end, from A to Z, how you can manufacture from the cow manure. You don't even have to to get the fertilizer ready, you can make it ready yourself to create highly sophisticated explosives. It is amazing. 81 series of videos from the beginning of creating rockets. They're talking about creating a Hamasistan on the front line here, but they're looking for recruitment in this country. And of course, we hear from our own authorities, even in Texas, they talked about infiltration through the border. So it looks like it is inevitable that we're going to have the kind of terrorism that America has never seen. Americans are not used to this kind of beheading the sea with Foley and Stolov. Wait till to see what happens in the front line here, if and when the Al-Qaeda or even ISIS sympathizers begin to be active here. So it's not ISIS trained from there. You can have home front cells here who are very sympathetic, and there is plenty of these, and the ability and the capability to create weapons of mass destruction is on YouTube.
All right. Let's talk about the Christian execution just for a moment. We're seeing it, but we don't seem to be that disturbed about it. I just don't understand that. But there is no negotiation. You either convert completely to Islam or you're dead. Is that basically it, right?
Absolutely. Even if you're a Muslim, yesterday I watched a beheading. I watch beheadings every day. It makes me sick. I just don't post them anymore because people are so desensitized to the thing. A guy was just delivering military uniform. He was a delivery guy, and he was a Muslim, and he was begging for dear life and declaring the Shahadatan in Islam. It made no difference. There was a video of a Christian who converted to Islam. It made no difference because in their view, you still have to pay the penance, and that is by killing you, slit in your throat. So it don't make any difference what you do. You're going to die. End of story. Amen. That's it.
Wow. All right. So could they be wiped out? I mean, if we had an administration that took these acts as acts of war, could they be wiped out?
Yes, but the problem with the administration, the problem really is with the American psyche and how they think. The wisdom says that, no matter who we aid in the Middle East, from the Muslim sects, it doesn't matter. From Reagan's era all the way to Obama's. From Reagan's era, we aided the Mujahideen to fight the communists in Russia that gave birth to the Taliban. In Obama's era, all the way down, we have the disintegration of secular governments, and the reversal of Sykes-Picot is exactly what ISIS wants. And we are seeing currently the results. Right now, we're aiding the Peshmerga, and they're really taking the weapons from the Christians. Christians are not allowed to carry weapons in the Kurdish regions to defend themselves, and the Peshmerga is taking their weapons. To us, the Peshmerga are heroes, so we're aiding and abetting the Peshmerga. Tomorrow they'll be our enemy. Today we're aiding the Turks. They're already our enemy. And so, we look at a success in Amirli. Amirli is a village that the Shia Iraqis took over. Now, if you look at what the statements are coming out from the front there, they're talking about jihad. They are talking about very much fundamentalist Islam in the same fashion as you would have the Muslim Brotherhood. So you look at the general giving the statement, he's talking about thank you to a Sistani. A Sistani, Iraqi Sistani, was born in Iran, and he's very much allied with Iran. And so right now, who's calling the shots in Iraq? It is not a Maliki. It is a Sistani who is allied with Iran. Iran is an enemy, of course. Iran, is a state sponsor of terrorism. And so here we are either hoping the Iranians would defeat ISIS or the Turks would intervene. So we're sending Chuck Hagel to Turkey, not realizing Turkey is the father of the bastard child we call ISIS, because we show videos of training in Gaziantep, in 3 different locations in Turkey, is training centers of ISIS. And of course, the Turks have this arrangement with ISIS in which they tell ISIS, you have our hostages, don't harm the hostages. And we will tell the Americans, look, we can't do anything about ISIS, we have hostages. Well, that's a game they play. If it is true that ISIS really hates Turkey, why did ISIS blow up every single tomb in the region except the tomb of Suleiman Shah, the father of the Ottomans? Well, it's because they have a deal with Turkey. And so we need to understand this. The only way to clean up the mess is for the United States to do it. Aerial bombardments, as well as arming the Christians. Why don't they arm the Christians in Iraq to fight? Why don't they arm the Christians in Syria to fight? Why are they arming the Muslims?
Amazing. And do you think Kurdistan is in danger? I mean, if we don't completely support them, could they be annihilated with this?
Well, yes. I mean, it is very dangerous. Kurdistan could be annihilated by ISIS. Mm-hmm. But again, it shouldn't be only the Peshmerga that's doing it. It should be the Christians of Iraq, the Assyrians, the Chaldeans, the Chaldeans there. They're willing to fight. They're willing to carry arms too. So we are basically aiding one part of the equations, the Muslim world, right, but we're not aiding the Christian world. That's why we don't rescue Christians. The only ultimate solution for the Christians now is to get out of Iraq. So we're de-Christianizing the entire region by aiding Muslims to fight against the ISIS.
All right, let me take a quick break here, Walid, and we'll come back. We've got a lot to talk about. This is just mind-boggling, and yet you watching the news like everybody else, it appears that our current president or administration does not have a plan to deal with this. And I'm sure that was good news to ISIS, but it certainly sent a message to the world that we're just a non-player in this, and it's very dangerous. And I want to get your comments on that. We'll be right back with Walid Shoebat. And by the way, his website is Shoebat, SHOEBAT.com. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and our special guest today is our good friend Walid Shoebat, and you may want to check out his website and correspond with him, and of course his blog, and then you can go there to Shoebat, SHOEBAT.com. Walid, before I go much further, you're a former member of the PLO, Muslim Brotherhood. What happened to you? When did you see the light? Tell us your testimony in short term.
I mean, what people want to hear most of the time, how I secularly changed my mind, but it doesn't work that way. Islam is a religion. Being an Islamist is part of a religious movement. And the only way to get out of this Islamism is another theology. I found Christianity. And that's been my crime, really. People expect, or Americans expect, that, Islamists could just change their mind because they see the light of America. It's not how it works. People believe in God. There is, religion is the issue. Religion is the adhesive that decides in the Middle East, even in the Middle West. Right. People keep forgetting this. In Turkey today, it's religion. Davutoglu is talking about religion. Right. So the issue is the struggle between good and evil. Jesus Christ, who says, look, you don't have to die for God to go to heaven. I already died for you to go to heaven. So to me, that's a much better deal. And so, there is something to be said about Christianity. Yeah. And to combat terrorism is to really talk about Christianity, in my view.
That's wonderful. Were you looking to change? What happened? I mean,
Actually, I wasn't. I was looking to refute the Bible because my wife, she said to me, if the Bible has been corrupted and it's as evil as you say, show me the problems in the Bible. So I really never studied the Bible to show her the problems. I spent $10, bought a Bible with a blue cover, a King James, New King James, opened it up and began to read. And as I began to read, I just couldn't put it down. I spent an entire year to find the problems in the Bible. What I found was the problems with myself. I found that Israel is not what I perceived it to be. I found that, the Jews didn't own all the banks. They don't own and run all the media. It's the opposite. So I had all these conspiracy theories in my mind. Now I deal with conspiracy theories on the American side. We're loaded with conspiracy theories. Wow. We're loaded with slander. We're loaded with all kinds of things that I deal with every day in my blog. Wow. And it's to no end. People buy into lies. They don't ask themselves before they say anything slanderous, what is the evidence of what I'm about to say?
That is beautifully said, and it also speaks of the power of the Bible, the power of God's Word, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In Amos chapter 9, verse 15, God says, I will plant them in their land, and no longer shall they be pulled up. One half of a verse that talks about the state of Israel. In other words, it's going to be established, and it's impossible to uproot it. Now, is this half a verse a historic reference? It can't be. They were uprooted by the Romans. It's talking about the time that we live in now. And it was impossible for me as a Palestinian to uproot Israel. It's impossible. We tried in 67, we tried in 48, we tried in 73 in Yom Kippur War, or Harb Ramadan as we called it. We failed miserably. So I began to ask myself the question, either the author of the Bible was a perfect guesser, or there's a God. So I chose the latter than the first. There is a God. I came from somewhere. I'm not buying the theory of evolution that I came from slime. I mean, the evolutionists should get their own dirt to make man. It's impossible. And so I look at life much simpler than these complicated, sophists that I see every day on television. I can't stand it. I look at life much simply. They want to kill us. In the past, I wanted to kill you. And then I began to look at you and say, is this the person I wanted to kill? Is this the Jew I wanted to kill? This is a poor individual. Why? What for? Let him live. Let the Jews live. Let the Muslims live. Let everybody live. Let us discuss theology, and let us debate theology, and let us each make his own mind in freedom and liberty.
Wow, that is so beautifully said. All right, I want to come back to, and I want to get very specific. Why do you think President Obama is silent on this issue? Why do you think he is not coming out viciously angry of the beheading of an American journalist?
Well, I mean, to answer the question, I will ask, why would Obama more prefer help the Yazidis? Now, I'm not against helping the Yazidis. Want to help the Christians. How many Christians have Obama helped to bring into the United States? They're fleeing all over the globe, except the United States is kind of closing its doors. Why is Obama so adamant against the Bible? If you go to YouTube and you put Obama Bible, it's nothing but criticism. And if you plug in Obama Quran, it's nothing but compliments. I look at Obama really culturally still have not really divorced his past and his Islamic culture, Islamic even thinking. I don't believe Obama is a Christian at all. What's he doing for the Christians in Iraq and in Syria? Absolutely nothing. So it's either Obama is this liberal mentality, and if Obama is Muslim, Muslims are liberal as well. Keith Ellison is not conservative. Keith Ellison swore on the Quran. He is very liberal. Islam is not conservative. Islam believes in al-ishtirakiyya al-islamiyya, Islamic socialism. They don't believe that life begins at the moment of conception. So the issue of abortion is a different issue than the way we view it as Christians. The view on environmentalism is very similar to the liberals with Islam. They have what is called himaz. Al Gore loves Islam. It is not naivete that the liberals like Obama or Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, that are so anti-Christian and so pro-Islam. It's because there is much agreement between the two sides. Of course, until the Islamists comes to chop their head off, that's when they'll call 911. Is there a gun? We need a gun. And that's how it is usually with the liberals. That's how it was with Foley. That's how it was with Stoloff, who went messing around thinking that you can deal with Islamists, that they're really peace-loving religion and everything else. And the end was a disaster. And this is what I plead for everybody. You don't teach your children and say, listen, son, drugs is bad. Beware of drugs. Oh, marijuana, that's okay. You say all drugs is bad, including marijuana. So it doesn't matter if it's a Muslim brotherhood who's a fundamentalist who doesn't behead you, or ISIS. Boy, that's a PCP. That's a real heavy drug. It doesn't matter. You stay away from all drugs in the same essence. You stay away from all fundamentalist Muslims. They are trouble. The Americans need to understand. Once they get a victory, either political or military victory, these people kick in high gear. Look what happened in Egypt with the Muslim Brotherhood. They began to kick in high gear. Right. Egypt went into chaos until the military intervened. And the same thing is going on in Iraq. We think Al-Qaeda was bad. Now we have ISIS. It is much worse than Al-Qaeda. What will it be tomorrow? It will be the killing of all the Christians in the Middle East. Will that wake us up then when every Christian is killed in the Middle East? God forbid. We need to wake up now. And America needs to do something now. Do it the right way.
All right.
Help the Christians fight, and they need to do it themselves on the ground and clean this mess. Remember, never reverse Sykes-Picot. Long live Sykes-Picot. That's what we need.
Oh, well said. Why do you think the UN and other countries are so silent on this? This is a world problem. and just human rights violations being very basic. Why isn't the UN screaming on this?
You know, the UN is not about human rights. If the UN was about human rights, why would they have elected some countries to represent in the UN for security and all that stuff, and they're terrorist states? So it's the united nothing, really. The UN does some good things when they send food and supplies. This is all a facade of doing something. But the fear is not just from the UN only. It's from the European Union. It's from the United States. The fear is to really address Islamic fundamentalism and to uproot the problem from its source and tell the truth about this problem, this epidemic that is going on. And nobody wants to address the issues. The issue is Islam. You know, you want to reform Islam, so you get somebody with three-piece suit to talk about this is not true Islam and this is the true Islam. And so you get Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, who has a handful of followers, yet you don't find scholarly Muslims to say this is really Islam and we need to reform it. It's not going to happen. There is no reformation of Islam. Show me the reformers. Who are they? What's their name? What is the theology? What is their manuals? Where are the libraries that talk about reformed Islam or democratic Islam? The Middle East has always been in decay because of Islam. Islam is the problem. And as long as we keep pussyfooting around this issue, we're never going to solve the problem.
Walid, and I'm going to run out of time, and thank you for your transparency here. I think the Christian community, the faith community in America, is standing back not knowing what to do. We are now in the crosshairs of this organization, the ISIS and other fundamentalists. Scripture says, pray for your enemy, turn the other cheek. I think we're caught. We just don't know what to do. We want to fight, but is that biblically correct? How are you wrestling this?
Well, I look at Matthew 25 when Jesus says, for I was hungry, you gave me food. I was naked, you clothed me. I was in prison, you visited me. To feed, to protect, to defend takes action. It takes amount of work. What Jesus was saying is that if you don't do this kind of work, you really never had faith in me. Depart to the left, you evildoers, doers of iniquity. We have sold the American Christian a bill of easy believism. We gave them 4 spiritual law in the booklet, and we forgot to tell the Christian, when you see the apartment building burning, you got to risk your life to save that old lady burning in that building. You know, and that's the problem. We forgot the essence of what the reason Christ came. We think that Christ came only to save us. Christ came to destroy the works of the devil. That was the purpose of Christ's coming. That's what it says in the book of John, you know. So it's very clear. Christ came to destroy the works of the devil. And if we are to be Christ-like, we also have to work to destroy the works of the devil. And if Jesus says no love is like when a man dies for his friend, that's the greatest love. Well, how does a man die for his friends? He commits suicide, or he defends his friends, or he defends his wife, or defends his homeland, or he defends his fellow Christian, or he defends the Jews. You know, to be Christ-like and to die for your friends has to take an element of defense. The Bible does talk about defense. We isolate Old from New Testament. We think that the whole Old Testament is done away with in every way, when the New Testament talks very well about the valiancy of Abraham, of Jephthah in warfare. So, you know, we allow Israel to fight. We as Christians say, Israel, they're holy, they can fight. You know, it's in the Holy Bible that they can fight, but the Christians can't fight. That's hypocritical. If Israel has a right to fight, Christianity also has a right to fight.
Wow. That was prophetic. Thank you, my friend. You're in our prayers. We value greatly the opportunity to talk to you and look forward to doing it many more times in the future. The best way for people to correspond with you is through your website?
Shoebat.com, SHOEBAT.com, just as you spell the word shoe and the word bat, one word, .com.
All right, thanks. Good to see you. God bless you, my friend.
You bet. Take care.
Okay, we'll be right back.